Welcome. I'm Amy Taylor-Kabbaz, and this is the Happy Mama Movement podcast, a podcast dedicated to bringing the groundbreaking insights of matrescence to the world through interviews with leading experts, mamas, and those who are dedicated to making sure mothers are supported differently. These are our stories and your stories. Thank you for being a part of the Matrescence movement. Welcome back to the podcast, everybody. One of the most incredible things I have seen over the last few years is how this insight of matrescence is beginning to make real change in little pockets, little isolated spots around Australia and around the world. How this insight, the education around matrescence, can make real change when we get into not just the places where mothers are, but where they are supported, the hospital system, the local councils, the community groups, which is why I'm so excited to talk to an incredible mama, nearly mama of two, 38 weeks pregnant as we record this, Emily Mitchell. Emily is a mummerizing facilitator and Reiki practitioner and the founder of Motherhood Milestones, a multi-award-winning business that really focuses on disrupting the motherhood narrative and shifting the focus from solely on the baby to include the mother as well. And what you'll hear in a moment is she's also part of an incredible initiative here in New South Wales, in Australia, working with the government to bring matrescence awareness and resources to the new mamas postpartum in our public hospital system. Emily, I'm so excited to share your story with everybody.
Thanks, Amy. I'm excited to share it too.
So let's talk about you personally first. You have a 4-year-old now and your experience of becoming a mother and how you discovered this insight of matrescence.
Yes. So 4.5 years ago now, I think, I was 37 weeks and 3 days. And I stood up after eating dinner and I felt a gush, and it was not my waters, it was bright red blood. So this was my introduction to motherhood. So I was we rushed to the hospital, and it ended up being a partial placental abruption, emergency C-section, postpartum hemorrhage, like not the birth anyone wants ever, and especially not the birth you want for the first time. So I had not planned for that. I didn't even know what a placental abruption was. I didn't know how to recover from a C-section. Like, I felt so underwater, it wasn't funny. So my introduction to motherhood was hard, and being in hospital for 5 days was really hard, and coming home and then just not even knowing what had happened and still being in shock, and then the shock of it all impacting my milk supply, and it's just, that kind of cascade, it just keeps going and going and going. And so that's how I was introduced to motherhood the first time. And it took me probably a year to come across the term matrescence in you and your work and your book and all of those things. And once I did, I was like, it was kind of just like this sigh of relief, because there was a term to describe all of the things I was feeling, all of the changes I had experienced. Whereas on the outside, I just saw so many mothers getting on with it and doing it and existing. And I was questioning everything. I was like, why do people become mothers? Why do people enter this 4th trimester? Why do they say it's the baby bubble? Why is it this like happy, amazing time? Like, I didn't experience any of that. I don't know what they're talking about. And then when you find out about matrescence and all of the areas of your life that change and everything that's encompassed in that, you go, that it's meant to be like this. Like, yes, I'm not and wasn't supported in the ways I needed to, because I didn't even understand that I needed to be supported in those ways. But all the things I was feeling were normal.
And, that's an incredibly traumatic introduction to motherhood.
Yes.
And I would imagine that there was probably a lot of focus on your physical recovery, as much as there can be in our medical system. But I wonder, you looking back now, beyond the immediate physical recovery of that cesarean and all of the postpartum struggles there must have been, I doubt anybody was asking how you felt about how that happened, reflecting on the trauma and how scared you must have felt, and then the isolation afterwards and all the big questions. That's the thing that we don't have, do we?
No, and I gave birth in 2020, so this was COVID times as well. It wasn't as strict when I gave birth, but we went into another lockdown like 6 months after that as well. So 100%, the community wasn't there, the support wasn't there, the understanding wasn't there. Like, I went and picked up my son in hospital and pop stitches because I wasn't really shown how to move by a physiotherapist. But
Oh,
if you get
beautiful.
if you get knee surgery, you get like 6 weeks physio as part of the recovery. But if you get a C-section, you get nothing. So it just from the beginning trained me that, that age-old saying that I hate so much, like, all that matters is a healthy baby. Like, you had the C-section to save your son, and now that's all that matters. So off you go, toddle into motherhood and figure it out because you're both alive. So that's the standard we're running off. So
And be
yes.
grateful. Be
And be
grateful because you're both healthy and you're still here. And then there's no acknowledgement of that experience.
Exactly.
So for those who may be landing on this podcast as one of the early ones to understand what a difference matrescence makes, what did you find that was so comforting and healing and reassuring in this understanding of how we change through motherhood?
I think the fact that I was questioning everything, firstly, before knowing what matrescence was, made me feel like a bad mum, or like,
Mm.
why would you be questioning if this is the right role for you, or like that you made the right decision, or like, because as a mum you're meant to, that good mum stereotype, you're meant to show up and be all in for your child and love them and do all of these things. And I wasn't feeling like that. I was feeling like, I just don't understand why people do this. I'm feeling the worst I've ever felt. But when I discovered the word matrescence and understood the good mother stereotype and all of the things, like the whole host of things that change, not just physical, not just emotional, which people kind of know, but hormonal and spiritual and all of the other parts of your kind of psyche, the things that make you you, they all change. And I was questioning all of them. So when I realized matrescence is about questioning all of them, it's about working through all of
Yes.
that, it's about becoming the new version of yourself that is born alongside your baby, I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. I am going through the process of matrescence. Like, that is what is happening
Mm.
right now. And then I gave
Mm.
myself that freedom to further explore, you know, who I want to be now, or what that experience was meant to teach me. And it gave me more, love and like acceptance of who I am and where I am in that step.
Wow. So you're 38 weeks pregnant right now.
Yes.
Understanding that first birth experience now, how are you feeling? I mean, this baby will arrive any day. How do you feel today?
Today I feel good. I've done so much work the past like 3.5 years, like ever since my son turned 1. And I was like, no, not like, that's it. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing it the way I've been told anymore. I'm going to figure it out on my own. And I, sought out so many different kind of like healing modalities, or even doing mama rising training and going through the process myself and understanding, my triggers and understanding my story and what that was meant to show me, and my feminine and masculine, all of the things that are amazing in that training. I feel so much more prepared and ready, but
Mm.
also able to just go with the flow and like relax and accept, and all of the things that I like we're not taught the first time round. It's like control, 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 control. But it's like, actually, no. Once you're in that space of you've worked through everything you need to work through, then there's nothing left to do. Then it's just,
Mm.
okay, breathe, accept. And you've already got the skills and developed them to be able to figure out whatever is thrown your way. So
And what does your fourth trimester, your postpartum period, look like at this stage? We're not there just yet, but what have you put in place to make sure that you're supported this time?
yes, so I've hired a doula this time for my birth and postpartum period, so getting the support through her as well. My partner's taking 6 or 7 weeks off as well to be home. with my son, because that will be the interesting part this time. That's the new bit. So that's, we'll see how that goes. We've cooked all the meals. We've stocked the freezer. I have people on standby around like lactation consultants and other kind of professionals who can support me in that fourth trimester in case anything comes up. And just me, where I am emotionally and mentally and physically, I'm kind of in that best space right now to be able to receive a baby and then rest. Like that is
Oh,
that is the whole point. Just taking that kind of whole month after that baby is born to be horizontal and to, as much as possible, and to bond with that baby and not feel guilty about taking that rest, and really understanding now the importance of that fourth trimester and that immediate postpartum period as well.
I don't know why. I probably shouldn't say I don't know why, because I know very well why. When you said I'm in a great place to receive that support and rest, that brought tears to my eyes, because that is like that word, that insight, Emily, is so important, because so often as women, especially growing up, believing that we can do everything and we're super women and we're strong and we're independent and, get back and do what you used to do. I remember, the birth of my second, and then my third was different, but definitely my second, I felt so worried that my eldest would be feeling left out that I insisted on doing all the daycare pickups and drop-offs and all of that, because I didn't. So when you said I'm in such a good place to receive the rest, I just really wanted to highlight how incredibly powerful that is for you, but for everybody else listening, because it's really hard for us to allow ourselves to stop and receive this.
100%. And have been previously, still am slightly that person, like the overachiever, the doer. And literally just 2 weeks ago, I had a little moment where I was like, me and my son's relationship is going to change forever. I need to like start a bucket list of like the things he can do as an only child, like even just 2 weeks ago. And then in that 2 weeks, I was like, okay, let's work through this, Emily. Like this doesn't really need to happen like this.
Oh, I love that. And you know what? That'll come back again.
Yeah,
Very much it might come back again when the baby's here, but you
100%.
know how to recognize where that comes from now and how to
Exactly.
meet it with compassion and understanding. Yeah,
That's it.
receiving that rest. That's incredible. So, in amongst all of this incredible self-healing and preparation for this next baby and raising your son and going through your own healing over the last 4 years, you've also really stepped into making sure that other mothers know what matrescence is and receive a different kind of postpartum experience. Can you tell us all a little bit about how that has been born?
100%. And I think, you know how they say teachers teach what they most need to learn? I feel like it's been that. Yes, exactly. I feel like
That's me.
it's definitely been that, because in the whole process, that kind of fourth trimester postpartum period where that mother is born and her identity changes and all of those things was the missing part for me and the hardest part for me, or trying to reconcile. So I was really motivated and inspired to try and do anything really in my power to educate women about the fourth trimester before they land in it, before they land in the messiness and the chaos and whatever else is going on, so they can plan for their most supported fourth trimester, whatever it looks like to them, because we're all individual. We all have different family networks or friends or villages. But in the same sense, matrescence has, all these things that change that we all go through. So I wanted to really create some education and then the ability for that woman to create her own fourth trimester. So I was lucky enough to get a grant from the government to work with my local hospital to produce a honoring the fourth trimester kind of resource. So it's been a labor of love. It's been nearly 2 years in the making, which
It's so incredible.
it's been a good experience though, because once you do something right, hopefully it'll pilot here, but then be expanded once we know what women and mothers want, fingers crossed. So we've, had the content from that resource created through in-person workshops with clinicians and consumers. And I think that alone was really powerful, because it's not often that midwives, child and family health nurses, social workers, get in a room with mums and doulas and private midwives, etc., to really chat about how can we make the fourth trimester a better experience for mothers. Because often there's that gap where you see a midwife until like 2 weeks postpartum, and then you move to a child and family health nurse. And although they're really helpful, there's a little gap of information or knowledge or support because you haven't met them prior to being in that fourth trimester. So really getting everyone in the same room and on the same page and understanding, what's important for women, what's important for midwives, what's already happening, where can we slot in? We don't want to reinvent the wheel, but what isn't being talked about, especially around matrescence, like the identity shift, the spiritual shift, the money, like what's changed in our financial world now. We often don't talk about that until we're in it, or we might apply for some leave, but there's more that comes with that. And the cultural changes and the hormonal and physical and emotional, all of it. That's what we base the resource on, like those kind of pillars of matrescence, because that's what's not really being taught. And at that co-design workshop, we educated people on what matrescence was, why it's important, and why it is, crucially important in that fourth trimester when the mum is, everything's changed for that mum. And the main thing I wanted to do with this resource is have it as a conversation starter. So I wanted the woman to go through the booklet, have the conversation starters there, and talk to the person or people she wanted to talk about with that. So that might just be herself. That might just be checking in. Okay, how do I think I'm going to feel after this? If I have a C-section, if I have a vaginal birth, if it's my first, second, fourth, whatever, what does recovery look like for me? And how do I want to do that? And then going through all the different stages of matrescence. But she can take it to her midwife, she can take it to her doctor, she can take it to her obstetrician, whoever her care team is.
Her husband, yeah,
Exactly.
all of the people, yeah. Because
Exactly.
that's often the part as well, is that these conversations happen, if you're lucky, with a great midwife or a doula.
Yeah.
But then you're trying to explain to your partner or your mother or your group of friends, like, I don't know, I'm okay, but it's not the way I thought I would feel. Like you don't have the words for this communication. And so by allowing them to understand that early empowers them to be able to speak about it differently.
That's exactly right. And it also doesn't put the onus on the midwife to bring it up as well, which is important because midwives are already under so much like pressure to get all these things done. And when you're in a medical field, like when you're in a hospital, it's we generally just kind of accept what the medical authority figures tell us, right? It's that kind of that power imbalance. But if the woman is introduced the resource and said, okay, this is a fourth trimester resource for you, there's education in there, there's conversation prompts, you can plan for your own fourth trimester, you can bring it to me, you don't have to, like balls in your court. It actually helps the midwives as well because it helps them introduce a concept that they've probably not introduced in this way before. There's definitely resources they already use, but not in this way where it's all kind of packaged up in one neat little bow. Yeah, exactly.
And so in those co-design workshops where you, like you said, were really able to bring clinicians and consumers together and listen, what was their response to the ideas around matrescence and what you wanted? What were they saying they were needing? What was their aha moments when they heard about all of this? What did you get out of that?
Yeah, I think being like working in the medical field, working in the hospitals, they're under certain pressure to follow policies and procedures that the hospital gives them. So while they want to work with women and for women, that sometimes it's not always possible. So when they learn about matrescence and understanding that, I think it gave them the permission to be able to speak in a language that was different but still supportive of policies, procedures, and the woman's health and well-being and maternal, experience. So I think a lot of people hadn't heard it before, which isn't, that's pretty common.
Unusual.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. We're going to change that though, Emily. We're changing
That's
that.
right. Slowly but surely.
Yes.
Yeah, so they were able to, again, give language to something that they see it time and time again because, women are coming with questions and all sorts of things to them. But now they could say, oh, this is what the experience is you're going through. Like, this is the process of becoming a mother. This is the education that they needed to be able to pass it on to the women that they look after.
Mm. And like you said, you're able to give it to the mothers to be as well. And I know I was going to say in my experience, but I've been listening to stories for more than 10 years. So I know in so many of our experiences after we become a mum, we feel so disempowered. We feel so out of control. We didn't realize it was going to feel this way. And so the language, the resources in our own hands can make us feel like we have a little bit more of our own power and control back. No,
Yes.
in reality, there's not much power and control in those early days, but it does feel like a self-ownership that's also really important for those new mums, that they're not just asking everybody else around them, what's happening? Why do I feel like this? Is this okay? But instead, there's self-reflection and self-knowledge growing in there. And that is such a gift that you're able to give those mamas, Emily.
Yes, and that 100% was my story as well. Always searching for external validation, always trusting that external validation instead of going within and understanding who I am and what I want. And as you said that, it reminded me, one of the attendees of that co-design workshop said, this is amazing because it highlights the choice that women have in their postpartum period. And then that obviously extends to their life as well, because, there's conversation starters in the guide. There's all kinds of kind of prompts and education and support options and all of that stuff. And it shows you have so many options. There are so many options. You just don't know them until you know them. And that's what we wanted to change.
Wow. So to be clear, this is a resource they get before they give birth.
That's right.
Which is, so it's trying to capture it and catch them in a way before they sort of land on the other side. And so that's when the resource is handed out. That's the pilot program at the moment.
That's right. So it hasn't started exactly yet. We're just finalizing the resource right now, but it's very close. So it'll be given out between maybe 30 or 36 weeks, but that will be kind of midwife led as well, depending on the conversations they're having with each woman. One woman might want it at 20 weeks, one woman might want it at 15, one might want it at 38, whatever. But they have the opportunity to introduce it then, and they can fill it out, because like a birth plan, the power isn't in the birth plan. It's not in the control written down. It's in the conversations you have to create that birth plan. It's in the conversations you have about the options that might happen to you, or what you want to feel and how you want it to look. That's where the power is. So having those conversations before the birth hopefully sets you up for a postpartum period that is nourishing and exactly what you wanted it to feel and look like.
I'm so excited to see the data from this. I mean,
Me too.
without being presumptive here, I'm assuming I know what the results are going to be like and the impact it's going to be, but this is what we've been waiting for so long, is actually clear evidence-backed data to show that if they learn about matrescence before they give birth, on the other side, this is the difference it can make. And that's what you're doing. You're starting to build this incredible evidence and data. And like you said, show that it works here, and then hopefully we can roll it out, or you can roll it out in so many other health districts around this country. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you think about what the impact will be, what do you assume or hypothesize is going to be the feedback from these new mamas?
I think that's what's kept me going for the whole 2 years, because I know the power of understanding matrescence and the process of becoming a mother, and the information and education about postpartum that's not often shared before we're in that period. So I just keep thinking about how, again, a mother will feel supported by, again, going within and understanding what she wants it to look and feel like, and having that internal validation. But also the wider conversations that are going to happen, again, with family, but with medical professionals, with all sorts of people in your network. And I think that's going to spread it further, matrescence and postpartum and support for women. And I hypothesize that hopefully it's going to be a massive success, and people are going to feel informed and supported and having conversations left, right, and center about it.
Exactly. Oh, I'm certain it's going to be like that. And so have you used the resource prompt questions yourself?
Yes.
It's like you're actually part of the pilot program. How gorgeous, how divine that this is the timing of it all for you.
100%. And I feel like that, you know how things happen at the perfect time, and that's why it's taken this long. Like it's a purposeful timeline. So yes, my partner and I sat down and I was like, right, we're going to do our own 4th trimester plan now because we've got all the content. And so we went through the questions, we figured out what we wanted to do. And as second time parents, we were very clear because our first time, you know, obviously fed into that. So we talked about, you know, the visitors, not having any straight away, doing all the kind of things differently that we did the first time, and really leaning into who we are as parents and getting to know our new dynamic and all of those things. And we went through the whole thing and we were on the same page. And I didn't think much would come up that we weren't already across, but there was some stuff around like what our values would be as a family of 4 and some of the fears maybe that we're feeling about becoming parents again and asking for help and that receiving of help, etc. So it was really valuable just even for us as second time parents. So I can't imagine like first time parents going through the process without knowing any of it or experiencing it before. I'm interested to like hear people's stories about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that you've been doing this work for years now, you've done your own study, you've created that resource. And even for you, it brought up things that you were surprised. It shows how incredibly powerful those prompts are. That's why I love the way that you've created this resource, because we can think in our heads, oh yeah, I've covered everything. I know how to be ready for this. But then when the question lands, you're like, oh, that's interesting. I hadn't thought about that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was
And the values piece. Sorry, keep going.
Oh, no, that's all right. The values piece is important, but it was interesting to hear from my partner about his perception of receiving help as a man, like as a male who hadn't given birth and who was on leave to, you know, support me and the baby and our family. But he was often like, oh, you know, I don't really need to receive too much help because I'm on leave. And I was like, you know, but this is a whole different process for you as well. Like, you know, your identity is changing here too. And there's that whole kind of Matrescence piece or whatever. But it was interesting to have that chat with him and how it will also change for him, and he needs the same support as well. So to be able to support us as well.
For sure. And I'm really glad you brought that up. I remember because my first birth with my daughter was incredibly traumatic and scary at times as well. And before our second was born, my husband was really silently at the time, but very scared of what it might look like again, because in a way he witnessed it quite differently than I experienced it, of course, but it was still incredibly confronting and scary. And there was things that we needed to work through for him to be ready for this next experience, because he carried his own experience of how scary that was. So even just being able to have that conversation with your partner, I would imagine would have been incredibly healing.
Yes, 100%. That's exactly, it's the same story as well. Like, and just being able to have a reason to have that conversation. Exactly. It was powerful. And then as we went through the whole thing at the end, we were like, okay, we're ready. We feel ready. We're ready. And then he felt more confident because we were on the like exact same page around everything that matters. And it was kind of one of those steps forward where you're like, okay, I can take a deep breath now and be like, yeah, we're ready to do this. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Emily, that's so incredible. I agree. I think the universe's timing was perfect, that this baby has come now because of all of the work that you've done, and you're like patient number 0 in the pilot program. Thank you for the 2 years of incredible perseverance and persistence you've put into this program. I'm so proud of what you're doing, and I really believe it's going to be an example of what so many hospitals, health centres around Australia and hopefully the world will look at. So congratulations, beautiful. It's really, really incredible.
Yes, thank you so much. I so hope to see it everywhere.
Yeah, so do I. And we're all sending you, everyone who's listening right now, we're all sending you so much love and strength for this next birth of you as a mama of 2 and this beautiful new soul who's about to arrive. Keep me posted on how it goes.
I will, definitely will.
Thanks, beautiful.
Thank you, Amy.
Everybody, if you want to hear more about and see more about what Emily's doing and this incredible work that she's doing, please check the show notes to see everything there. Okay, thank you.